Hello, my friends. This is Otaku Cook, and today I am making Baozi. Now, what is Baozi? Well, it is a yeast resin bun that is stuffed with meat and vegetables. It's super easy to make and absolutely delicious. So, let's get right into it.
The first thing we'll need to do is activate our yeast. For that, you'll need to warm a mixture of 100 ml of water and 25 ml of milk. Once that's warm, get that into a bowl and add 5 grams of sugar and 4 grams of yeast. Mix until the sugar is dissolved and let it rest for about 15 to 20 minutes or until you start seeing some foam rising on the top as the yeast has activated and is started to release carbon dioxide.
Once the yeast is activated, start adding it in 250 grams of all-purpose flour. Now make sure that you don't add the entire thing at once. Add it slowly and keep mixing it while you add it. This way you will distribute it evenly and avoid any dry spots or lumps of wet dough. Once the mixture of water, milk and yeast is added to your flour and distributed evenly everywhere, start kneading it and knead it for about 8 to 10 minutes. A long kneading process is very important. It stretches out the dough so that when you finally make these bao buns, the dough doesn't tear. So make sure that you are putting some elbow grease while you're making these. Once you're done kneading it for 8 to 10 minutes, form it into a ball and let it rise for up to an hour. It might take longer or shorter depending on the quality of your yeast and flour, but it needs to at least double in size. Meanwhile, we can start working on our stuffing for the buns. It's very simple and straightforward, as all of these vegetables are going to be finely chopped. Starting with a whole head of cabbage, cut it into 4 and chop it as finely as possible. Next is a few leaves of pak choy. Now of course it depends on your taste. If you like pak choy, you can of course add more. All you need to do for this is cut the ends and of course finely chop this as well. Next is the green onion. Remove the back end of it and remove the white. We are going to be using it, but we're going to be chopping it once we're done chopping the green part first. Finely chop the greens as fine as possible. Once you're done with that, you can then focus on the whites, which you have to cut just like onions. Of course, as fine as you can. Next are mushrooms. Now mushrooms are optional. If you can get your hands on it, that is fantastic. If you can't, it's okay. Now of course you can substitute mushrooms with a lot of other things. such as bamboo shoots or even lotus root, which is known as kamal kakdi, or you could just skip this part altogether. It's of course your choice. Once we are done with the vegetables, we can start focusing on our aromatics. For this one, we'll need 5 to 8 grams of ginger and 6 to 7 cloves of garlic, of course, finely chopped. Once you're done chopping your ginger and garlic, mix them together and divide them in half. One we are going to be cooking with the vegetables right now, and the other we're going to mixing it with our meat while it's raw. Now that our aromatics and vegetables are done cutting, we can start stir frying them. There are two reasons why we need to do this. One is to par cook them, give it a little flavor, and tenderize it beforehand. Now, when you stuff them and when you steam these, many times what happens is that the vegetables are undercooked and they seem to be a little tough. So you don't want that. So you have to pre-cook them a little. You don't even have to stir fry them. You could just parboil these vegetables, but stir frying actually does add a nice toasty flavor to it, so I'm doing that. The second reason is for removing moisture, and this is mostly for preservation purposes as well as concentrating the flavor of these vegetables. You don't want your stuffing to have a lot of water in it. Fat is fine, but not a lot of water, because we are going to be adding water in the stuffing anyways. Now we are not going to cook them for very long either, maybe for 3 to 5 minutes. That's it. Not color, no color. We don't need any color on these vegetables. Now that we have reduced all the water from our vegetables, we can finally focus on the meat. I'm using pork mince over here, mostly because of the fat, because fat is flavor. So the first thing you'll need to do is gradually add a very little amount of water and start emulsifying it with the meat. We are doing that so that we get a texture that holds itself together. After 2 or 3 minutes, you can start adding your vegetables a little by little. Before we even add the vegetables, the first thing we are going to add is our ginger and garlic that we chopped and kept aside. This is so that we could infuse the raw ginger and garlic flavor into the meat. After done with adding our vegetables and aromatics to the meat, we can finally start seasoning it. Starting with 1 tablespoon of salt. We didn't add any salt while we cooked these vegetables, just so that we could Season them with salt while it's mixed with the meat. Next is 2 tablespoons of soy sauce and 2 tablespoons of Shaoxing cooking wine, and finally 1 tablespoon of hoisin sauce. Mix these ingredients thoroughly together and your stuffing is ready. Now let's get back to the dough again. Punch out all the air from our dough which has been left to rise and start rolling it flat. Once it's flat enough, divide it in half. Stretch and roll one half of your dough and then tightly roll it together. Once you're done with that, divide it into equal portions. Then take 2 of these portions and combine them together into one ball. And do the same thing with the other portions of your dough. Now let's make our wrappers. First, lay the dough flat on a surface, push it down and start applying pressure on the corners, leaving the middle. It should start looking like a mountain in the middle. This will make it easy for you to roll out the corners. Now take your rolling pin and start rolling these corners, turning your dough slightly every time. Do this until your dough is stretched out. Then lay your dough flat on the surface and then press down on the middle and even it a little. You don't have to press it too hard, just a little so that the surface is a plane. Now let's stuff and close our Baozi. This is a complicated process. It took me plenty of trials and errors, but finally I did it. Start by pinching one side of the dough. Then start folding the dough on top of that first pinch. Each time you fold it, you move it towards yourself as if you are rotating it. Also, each time you fold it, press in your thumb onto the stuffing and push it inside. Try to make at least 10 folds. If you can't do it, don't be frustrated. This took me a long time to learn and many errors, many. So don't get that into your head. Just be patient and do your best. When you reach the end, twist the top and there you go, your Baozi is ready. Let them proof for 20 to 30 minutes. Then let it steam for 15 minutes. And there you go, your Baozi is ready. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more of these cooking videos. Until next time.